Honeypop dialogue is so good.
Okay.
Hmm?
That was a near miss there, but I should warn you that we are now live.
I've got no problem with anyone hearing that. It's true.
Okay, that's fine. I just thought that as your friend and as the host of this stream, which I will remind you does occasionally get younger viewers, I may want to rein you in before you start quoting any of it. That's
Okay,
all.
fair enough. Fair enough, fair enough. Anyway,
Yeah, so we're now live.
so what's going on today?
Well, I figured I'd get us started with my once again attempting to beat Minecraft, but if this doesn't go too well, I've got a backup plan, which
How
is
much progress have you made?
I'm a lot better at it, I think. However, the never to be disregarded factor of the luck of the world you get is still just as prominent as it's ever been.
And what was your backup plan for if
The
this all goes
backup
massively
plan,
tits up?
if this all goes massively tits up, is that I'm going to open up the world where T-Mech and I play the scuffed survival multiplayer, and I will show you that, because although I'm pretty sure Ulan and everyone else and their mother has now seen that, you still haven't.
You're correct, I haven't.
So I'll give you the grand tour of the glorious Hyperborean mining operation. But in the meantime, I need to get this tree taken down. And then I need to find some exposed rock. And, also the coal and iron.
I still think you should put a timer on the side of the screen.
You're almost certainly correct. However, what with the fast-paced hurly-burly of modern life, I just find that I never manage to get around to those items on my to-do list. And speaking of hurly-burly of modern life, I think a new all-time record has been set this week. Would you
Go on.
like to guess what the category of the record was, James?
Bitcoin price.
Well, I have no doubt that that probably happened as well, but I haven't been paying attention to that, and it wasn't what I was talking about. So, good try, but no.
Okay.
In this case, I was going to say that what we actually set the record for was most concurrent live viewers on a live stream conducted by the United States Congress's Committee on Financial Services.
Okay. What was the size of? Well, go on. Tell me how many people tuned in.
Okay, so for the record, these things normally get a couple hundred live viewers max, and the one that happened just this past Thursday had upwards of 60,000 people tuned in to watch it live.
Did anyone ever draw attention to this fact?
I believe that there were a few people who were, it's just occurred to me that they don't have a live feed of the chat in, congressional hearings, so, I don't think I saw anyone sending. I don't think I saw anyone sending Maxine Waters a super chat to inform her that we've set a new subscriber record. But
U.S. Congress is really behind the times there, clearly.
yeah, clearly, more so even than me and my failure to and my failure to install Optifine.
They should have senators interacting with chat during congressional hearings. That's
Well, just to remind you, that is the wrong house. It's
oh, whatever. Okay,
these were Congress people.
Congress. Sorry, I've got no idea about U.S. politics as clearly as you know.
I mean, it's basically just your two-chambered system of government, the same as they had in England, except that instead of a House of Lords, they've got a Senate, and instead of a House of Commons, they've got Congress, because they're not elitist.
Yes.
Well, in the same way. They're elitist, just in a very different way. Anyhow, so that happened, and, you know, it was a fascinating watch. I didn't see all of it live, but I did watch all of it while it was happening, and I think I caught up to the live within, like, the last 45 minutes, maybe more than that. I was
and what was the conclusion?
Well, the thing about it is, it's a hearing, not a trial. Like, there wasn't a policy or decision-making... There wasn't a policy or decision-making process going on. What it was...
But was there a sort of a general opinion that was clear from the people who were conducting the hearing?
Yes, so, basically, there were 52 Congress people on the panel asking questions of... Oh, how many were there? There was a set of witnesses who were sworn in and pledged to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. Those witnesses were... Jeez, I'm trying to remember all of their names without looking it up. Basically, we had the heads of Robin Hood, Citadel, and Melvin Capital. And we also had a policy analyst from the Cato Institute. And, what is he? The CEO and co-founder of Reddit. And, of course, the man himself, deep fucking value, Keith Gill.
Whom I noticed that the media has ceased to refer to as deep censored value, and now at least the media that I have sort of been reading has just started referring to him as Roaring Kitty.
Yes, so that's the username he uses on Twitter and YouTube, and presumably any other platform where profane usernames are prohibited.
I just find it amusing that for the first week or so, the media was like, "Holy, we've got this guy here who is on Reddit, and he's got this really sort of rude, he's got this really rude name. So we'll make sure we call him by that." And then they discover that he's got this other name, and they're like, "Actually, let's call him that instead."
Yeah, and I think at least part of the other, or one other consideration that might factor into that is the fact that the situation has stopped being funny for a lot of people. It's like, okay, we can't disparage this guy anymore. He was the only person who seemed to be calmly and coolly answering the questions that the Congress people were asking him.
Oh, really? So what was everyone else doing?
Well, I don't know for certain about Mr. Plotkin, the head of Melvin, but both Vlad Tenev, the head of Robin Hood, and Mr. Griffin, the head of Citadel, both of them appeared to be reading off a teleprompter, and at one point, one of the Congress people asked them, asked definitely Mr. Griffin and Keith Gill. The congressman asked those two people specifically, how many people do you have in the room there with you? And Mr. Griffin, at least, I believe, had 4 other people in the room with him, none of whom were on camera. It's just that they were... Oh, crap.
Yeah, have these people who are telling you what to say, have they been sworn in to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth as well?
Well, no, because we never even found out who they were, what they looked like.
Quite.
They all stayed behind the camera the whole time.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very... That doesn't sound very in the spirit of what a hearing is supposed to be about.
Yeah, so basically, both Vlad and Mr. Griffin had their teams of lawyers feeding them specific lines. And the real hilarious thing about it was how canned the lines sound. Like, obviously, about the first sentence and a half of any response they gave was, like, an equivocation or a stalling tactic used to buy the teleprompter time to type up what the official legal response of the organization is going to be, since they're under oath.
Yeah.
But here's the hilarious thing. Robin Hood maintains 2 things. First, that they halted trading on the 28th and had it still restricted on the... Well, sorry, not halted trading. They restricted trading, specifically the buying of GameStop and a number of other securities. They made it impossible for their users to buy those things. And they claimed that this was because they claimed that it was because the collateral requirements, as set forth by law, meant that they would have to have more collateral posted than they had at the time. But they also maintained, despite the fact that they were unable to post that collateral instantly when it became required, despite the fact that they weren't able to do it immediately and thus save everyone the trouble, they claimed that they did not have a liquidity problem.
Yeah, he said exactly the same thing on the television.
Right.
When he was being interviewed by CNN. That was literally his exact line. It's like, we didn't have a liquidity problem. We stopped trading so that we wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah, so you want to know...
That means you've got a problem, mate.
Yeah, so here's the thing. He was saying that under oath, and you'd expect that to be, like, suspicious on account of the fact that it'd be perjuring himself if he was lying on either one of those claims, since they seem to be contradicting one another. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
They weren't contradicting one another.
Okay.
If you look over the text of what he said, it was specifically that, there's the legal requirement for the amount of he said specifically that there was the legal requirement for that amount of collateral, and that Robinhood did not have a liquidity issue. But, and here's the big but, what that omits is the fact that that collateral requirement was temporarily waived at the time. Which means that they didn't have a liquidity issue because, by law, they were not required to actually pony up that amount of money at the time. However, they are standing by the fact that they restricted those trades because the requirement existed.
But the requirement was waived.
Right.
So it existed in a sort of theoretical way.
Exactly.
But it didn't... Oh, God.
Yeah. So someone on Reddit posted that explanation of what went on just this morning, and I saw it before we signed on here. And, that appears to be what went on that side of things, which basically confirms what all the Redditors were saying, that the only other reason that Robinhood could have had, because their business model requires them to keep trading as much things as possible, as quickly as possible. That's what their business model, payment for order flow, means.
Mm-hmm.
They have to... So the fact that they suddenly stopped doing the one thing that makes them money at the time when they could have made a killing off of it implies that their biggest partner, the people who were paying them for that order flow, which is Citadel, suddenly said that, hey, stop trading this, you're going to cost people we have a financial relationship with oodles of money. And, if you look at Ken Griffin's responses to questions he was asked, the one time that he gave a completely clear and unambiguous answer to a question, it was to deny that exactly this happened.
Well, first rule of government. Do you remember what the first rule of government is?
No.
Well, obviously it's a government rule, but I think it applies in this situation as well. First rule of government is never believe anything until it has been officially denied. And that sounds like it. And that sounds like it. Yep, that sounds like it applies in this situation.
Is that another Yes Minister joke?
It is, yes.
Okay. I was going to say, that sounds like exactly the sort of thing that What's-His-Face would say.
Oh, this isn't actually a Sir Humphrey Appleby quote. This is actually a Jim Hacker quote.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I suppose it does sound slightly too honest for Sir Humphrey, so... It'd have to have been somebody who was commenting on the activities of Sir Humphrey.
Actually, it was Jim Hacker. It was Jim Hacker commenting on the behaviors of his colleagues. Actually.
Oh. Okay.
I believe, yes, he was. What was the context of it? That's right. It was the party games Christmas special, where Jim Hacker eventually becomes the prime minister instead of being just the minister, and the line was about when the former prime minister retired, and Jim Hacker says that there are a lot of crazy rumors going around, and he proceeds to list a whole bunch of them, and then his wife asks him if he believes any of them are true, and he says, "Nah, it's not impossible, but it's never been officially denied. First rule of government, never believe anything until it has been officially denied."
Okay. Fair enough. I should clarify, I still haven't seen any entire episodes of that show, and this is, in fact, the first time I have had complete and unambiguous confirmation that the minister's name is Jim Hacker.
Ah, right, yes. The minister's name is Jim Hacker.
Yeah, you've normally shown me clips from this in order to show some outrageous act of evil committed by the permanent undersecretary, Sir Humphrey Appleby.
Yeah. The characters in Yes Minister, basically there are three main characters. There is Sir Humphrey Appleby, who is the permanent undersecretary. There's Jim Hacker, who is the minister, and then there is the minister's personal principal private secretary, Wooly. What's his name? Bernard Woolley. And Bernard Woolley is a civil servant who is technically responsible to the minister, and so he straddles the line between Sir Humphrey and the minister, and often finds himself caught between the two. So yeah, and there are a whole bunch of other lesser characters as well, but those are the three main.
Gotcha. Alright, well that has been informative. Anyways, so yeah, we've now got it officially denied that Citadel brought any pressure to Robinhood, despite the fact that we now have a whole lot of doublespeak, which implies that there was no other reason why the thing with Robin Hood could have happened.
Yeah.
So, all in all, a amazing hearing.
Yeah.
Also,
the fact that they officially denied that basically says that this is the stand that they have decided to. This is the thing that they fear. This is the truth that they fear more than perjury.
yeah. What else? There was
If
a
it
lot
is in
of
fact true,
else.
which it might not be. You know, I mean, it might not be true, but.
So, based on the intensity and targeting of the questions, it looks like Congress is going to try and, well, not just Congress, but probably also the hedge funds and clearinghouses as well are going to pile in on trying to make Robin Hood the fall guy for all of this. What else? Trying to make Robin Hood the fall guy for this. The head of Melvin was, I'd say, probably understandably at this point, extremely morose throughout the entire proceeding.
Morose how?
As in, incredibly dour-looking, downtrodden, and, he looked like a man who had been beaten. And comments he made have, very seriously played into the, confirmation bias of the Reddit crowd, which you will recall in our last episode had, schismed very heavily. So, after the hearing, the original subreddit, Wall Street Bets, started dogpiling back onto the feel-good GameStop train. But, everyone else... What is everyone else doing? Everyone else is... everyone else was already on board the, well, more specifically, the GameStop subreddits and Wall Street Bets New were on board the GameStop train still. And the comments of the head of Melvin played heavily into their confirmation bias, specifically in the sense that, one of his comments could be interpreted to mean that the huge activity we saw when Robinhood was just about to restrict trading, that activity was not in fact the short squeeze where all the shorts rushed to cover, but rather it was a gamma squeeze where a whole bunch of people took out call options, and then market makers who sold those call options had to rush to buy up shares in order to hedge against the possibility that the people taking the call options were correct. And this in turn drove the stock up heavily.
Which would mean that Melvin hasn't in fact closed out any of its short positions.
That is the implication, yes. And did I tell you about the stuff with the exchange-traded fund?
No.
Oh.
Or if you did, I forget.
Okay. Basically, what it comes down to is that the there is a exchange-traded fund. I don't know its exact name, but I believe its ticker symbol is XRT. And basically, XRT has a sizable holding of GameStop as one of its underlying positions. You with me so far?
Yeah.
And basically, around the time that the short interest report came out, the theory goes that Melvin and a bunch of the other people with short positions went and they went and shorted this exchange traded fund while going long on all of its underlying assets except for GameStop, which is effectively a way to synthetically short only GameStop. Make sense?
Yes, that makes sense.
Alright. And by doing this, they had hoped, well, the theory is that they would have hoped to drive the price of GameStop back down, which, you know, considering what it's been doing in the past couple of weeks, seems to have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, just in this past week, we saw the number of shares that were still available to be shorted. That number dropped, meaning somebody borrowed a bunch of shares. I think it was around 6 million of them. Yeah, somebody borrowed some large number of shares, and then, based on how the volume was behaving yesterday, dumped them all at once. And this drove the share price down slightly. And there was a whole lot of confusion going on related to somebody's misinterpreting of Melvin's Form 13F filing with the SEC, which talks about their position in put options which they have bought. Basically, nothing came of that because it turns out that since it was a bought put option, they could not use it in any way to cover their short position, but a small vocal contingent of people seemed to be attempting to convince people that this is what they were doing. But Reddit caught on to that reasonably quickly, so that by yesterday morning, after the post had been circulating for, I'd say about 12 hours, it had been fairly thoroughly debunked. It's interesting stuff. I mean, as an internet person, I am accustomed to getting as much reliable information about any subject that I care to read about whenever I want it. And in this situation, we've got huge amounts of... in this situation, we have got huge amounts of wild conjecture and unprovable assertions, and frankly, quite a few people who are probably lying about all kinds of different things.
What was that black animal that just waltzed through your screen?
That was a cat, I think.
Oh, interesting. Don't think I've ever seen one of them before.
Oh, there.
That's a policeman.
That is a witch.
Oh. Ah, a witch and a black cat. I see. How very on the nose.
Yeah. I forgot that those travel together, and I am going to want to get out of here just as soon as my stuff is done cooking, because I am not equipped to fight a witch at the moment.
Do you have to fight one?
No.
Can't you just...
Which is why I'm saying I want to get out of here just as soon as I can.
Oh, but if you don't get out of here quickly enough, then the witch will just attack you.
Well,
as
no.
a matter of course.
If I don't get out of here in a timely fashion, the witch might wander into aggro range and start trying to mess me up.
I see.
Alright. So yes. The head of Melvin looked like a man who had been beaten, and the head of Citadel has officially denied having put pressure on Robin Hood to restrict trading on GameStop, and Robin Hood has taken a seemingly contradictory position on the actual reason they claim they did it. And the CEO and co-founder of Reddit acquitted himself quite nicely in dispatching any questions which Congress people asked, in which they were basically trying to frame this as Reddit being culpable for market manipulation.
Yep, this is what. Yeah, that does not surprise me, quite frankly. I would expect nothing less from the owner or founder or CEO of whatever of Reddit, quite frankly, because it's like, well, your job is to manage a whole bunch of internet trolls all day. You should be pretty good at handling questions.
Yeah. So he was as cool as a cucumber and appeared to be sipping on an IPA while the questioning was in process.
Sorry, what's an IPA?
India Pale Ale.
Ah, okay.
Like he was having a beer.
I mean, I guess that's an advantage to having hearings remotely.
Yeah.
No one can tell you that you can't drink alcohol during it.
Yeah. And then there was the man himself, Deep Fucking Value. And I think somebody went and compiled a video that was just the parts of the hearing where he was speaking. The hearing went on for, I want to say, more than 4 hours, and Keith Gill was talking for maybe 14 minutes of that time.
Sorry, that's deep. That's Mr. Deep Value, is it?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just checking.
Yeah. He was only talking for about 14 minutes of it, but this was the great,
the highlights.
I'd say so. Reddit certainly. Well, the parts of Reddit that were and are hero worshipping him, I guess, definitely thought that this was the highlights, because even if you weren't biased in his favor ahead of time, I think that the difference between how he conducted himself at the hearing and how the other witnesses that were under constant questioning handled themselves was night and day. He had a frank and forthright presentation of any answer to any question he was asked, and he never appeared to be playing for time, and he wasn't wearing the red headband like I know a lot of people were hoping he would be. But what he did wear was almost better in a way. He was wearing he was wearing a suit, and in the background on the wall behind him there was a poster. It was the Hang in There Kitty poster. And he had hung the red headband on it.
On the poster, or?
Yeah, it was like, you can probably find pictures of this online pretty easily.
Hang on, I'm looking up now.
Yeah, just look up Keith Gill Congress hearing.
Yep, found it.
And?
Yep. It is, yep, it is exactly what you described it as.
So, much like his recent cryptic pictures that he's posted to Twitter, instead of making any text post anywhere, much like those, people were trying to read anything they could into this situation, including a rather amusing story about the origin of the Hang In There kitten posters. I don't think that theory has too much merit to it, because it's very much a, oh, deep fucking value, he's playing 4D chess with these guys, sort of thing.
It's like, no, he's just memeing and shitposting.
Yeah, he's just shitposting on Congress, including but not limited to saying stonks in Congress.
Sorry, did he actually say stonks?
Several times, yes.
What else did he? Was that the end of it? Or was there other
Oh
stuff
no.
as well?
His opening testimony concluded with, in short, I like the stock.
Nice.
And then there was what happened yesterday.
Also, in short, I like the stock.
Yeah. I appreciated that. Basically...
Not
Basically what, Okay, so the last thing that I'd say that occurred, which was noteworthy in connection to the hearing, was that, one of the questions he was asked was basically, what was the thesis that made you take that long position starting a year and a half ago? And so he briefly gave the rundown of that, and I'm sure anyone who's interested in this is probably already familiar with that by now. But he got cut off by the person who was asking the question partway through giving his answer. And the answer he was giving basically amounted to, but these theses change over time, and in light of the new situation, I think he was about to say that his original bullish thesis said that he bought in at $4 a share, expecting that a fair value was somewhere in the range of $20 to $25 per share, and he was about, I think, I can't prove it obviously, but I think he was about to say essentially that he would now consider the fair value to be much higher, since his original thesis had not factored in Ryan Cohen joining the board or any of the other stuff that's gone on since then. But he was cut off before he could say that. And the follow-on question that he was asked was, would he buy more at the current price? And he said yes. And then, yesterday, at the end of the market day, he posted the first update in 16 days. Like, he used to post daily pictures of his brokerage account activity, specifically to his GameStop position. But when he was called to appear for this hearing, I think that's when he stopped doing that. Until today, or sorry, until yesterday, that is, when he reposted it. Or sorry, when he started posting again. Sorry, I shouldn't be trying to fight a spider at the same time. He posted an update as of the end of, he posted an update at the end of market or sorry, at the market's close yesterday, showing his position, he had doubled the number of shares he had been holding since the last time that he had posted.
Well, I mean, it's good that the man at least decided to, prove that he wasn't committing perjury when he said, "Would you buy more today?" And he said yes. He has proven that he is not, in fact, lying under oath.
Yep. The other one was, part of his opening statement was he said, "I am not a cat."
Yes, I've got an article up here on Medium, and I've literally got the quote here. "I am not a cat, I am not an institutional investor, nor am I a hedge fund. I am just an individual whose investment in GameStop and posts on social media were based on my own research and analysis," he says. He says, "I am not a cat."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yes.
Not really too much useful in saying "I am not a cat," but amusing that he said it nonetheless. I need to find some lava. Anyways, that, I would say, is all the high points to cover from the hearing. And, since I've just noticed... Hi, Ulan, thanks for joining us. And, yes, we are talking about the ongoing kajigger in GameStop.
Yeah. Also, good evening from here as well. So you were talking about it, I was following along.
Yeah.
So was there anything else?
I'm trying to think of that. It's interesting and worth note that, the number of people trying to buy GameStop is still outweighing the number of people trying to sell GameStop by more than 9-1. And despite this, the price continues to trend downwards. And the volume has not drastically changed. The volume has returned, and I think in some cases even sunk below where it was before the hysteria set in. So that to me doesn't add up in a very literal sense, because you would expect that if the bids outweighed the asks that handily, the asks could just keep driving up, but they're not. And it is unclear how that's possible. Well, it's unclear how that's possible under... I don't know the exact figures, but I've seen comparisons to before, during, and after the height of the hysteria, and we have now reached the daily volume levels that were standard before the end of January. However, we've got this huge imbalance between the number of people trying to buy and the number of people trying to sell.
Yes.
Like the last time I placed an order, it took almost I want to say half an hour. It might have only felt like an hour. But I'm pretty sure it was an actual half hour to complete the order and actually get me shares at the prices I specified. The good news on that front, of course, is that I've now averaged down to the point where I wouldn't actually mind holding this long term in case it all goes tits up.
Well, there you go. Diamond hands.
Yep, basically. I mean...
You like the stonk.
Yeah. Diamond hands, I like the stonk. I can definitely see where somebody who was taking a short position might have been coming from back at the time of the last earnings report, which was for the quarter ending at the end of September, early October. When that earnings report was published in November, they had a bad quarter. But this last quarter, the one starting in October and ending at the end of December, we get the earnings report for that at the mid to late March point. And you know what's going to be priced in on that earnings report, James?
What?
All the first day sales for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and Series S.
Ah. Yes.
That's what went on sale in the time frame there. And definitely well worth considering.
Well, the interesting thing is that the market as a whole tends to value stocks in different ways, right? I know that we like the stonk is a meme, but it's also kind of true.
Yes.
Because the many stocks receive a premium on their price, which have got nothing to do with financial fundamentals, and everything to do with the fact that
people like the stock.
People like the stock, right? Tesla has got this in spades at the moment, right? It's the fundamental. Well, there are potential reasons why Tesla might be worth more than the entire auto industry combined. To be fair, there are legitimate arguments that could be made for that, but at the same time, they are rather speculative arguments. And if they were made about any other company, they probably wouldn't be taken that seriously. People like the stock. They like what it stands for. They like the ethos behind it, and because of that, they want to own it. Yep. And people want to own it. That the actual financials of it aren't that important. They like the stock.
Yep. I brought up that figure. First off, I should mention that I don't know firsthand that Tesla's valuation is greater than all the other automakers combined. That is something I heard.
Automakers.
Yeah, there
aren't that many of them.
I got that information off of my dad, who claimed to have seen it on Bloomberg News, and my dad commented at the time of mentioning this that one of the things he failed to account for with Tesla's share price is is basically that that Elon Musk's following is sufficient to cause movements in stock prices based solely on things he says.
Well, this is true. Here's my thinking about this. Thought number one is that Tesla is a car manufacturer, but
it's also a meme.
Sorry?
But it's also a meme.
Also a meme. Yeah, it is also a meme. But it's also a battery manufacturer. That's right. Thought number one. And given that the stated goal of Tesla is to transition our entire economy to one that relies on electricity, and the amount of battery that is required to pull this off is absolutely gigantic. And if you are a believer that in this mission, and you believe that the economy will in fact do this, and there's plenty of evidence around to suggest that that many powerful and influential people want this to happen. If you are a believer in this, then Tesla is by far best positioned to dominate that particular industry in the future. So there's that. So it's also an energy producer. Again, the idea of domestically produced electricity via solar roofs is another big and domestic power storage, again through batteries, is another string to its bow. So it's also an energy producing company and an equipment manufacturer for energy production as well. And it's a software company because a lot of the value of a Tesla car comes from its software and self-driving software, which if it proves to become the industry standard, could easily be licensed out to other car companies eventually, and they could become a software standard for the entire industry, which would give them a position of insane profitability for the industry as a whole. So yeah, it's very easy to look at Tesla and say, oh, it's just a car company. It's not even that big of a car company. How can it be worth more than every other car company combined? Well, kind of easily, actually, if you assume that all those things I just said are going to happen, which most people who own the stock, I think, probably do.
I think you are correct. In any case, I can't do too much in terms of moving my position around at the moment, given that I'm tied up in GameStop.
Yes. Opportunity cost, a real cost.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing to bear in mind with that, though, is that I'm...
Oh, hey, Svu.
Hey, Fu. We had just finished discussing events related to the GameStop hearing and news about GameStop in general, and I was just going to say that moving on from that, though, I'm still looking at where things will be going in the future. And my dad was initially skeptical of the thesis that we are looking at a stock market bubble. But as soon as Bloomberg News suggested it, he suddenly was willing to consider it a bit more seriously.
That kind of tells you so much, doesn't it?
Well, let's not give the guy too much of a bad time.
I'm not talking about your dad specifically. I'm talking about the general zeitgeist, shall we say, and the way that the mind of I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to call it like the. I guess you could call it the general populace. Do you think your dad would be offended if I referred to his mind as the general populace?
Geez, that's a weird question. I mean, I think my dad definitely thinks of himself as a salt of the earth kind of guy.
There we go.
So I don't think he would mind being viewed in that way. Personally, I think that my dad does stand apart from the crowd in a few key respects.
Okay.
Namely,
cool.
that he has been a success both as a businessman and an investor. I mean, it's nice. What do you call it? He's got an astonishing work ethic, and has managed to use his work ethic to great effect.
That's something that's worthy of respect.
Yeah. So there's that sort of thing, and the reason he was skeptical initially that there would be a boom is, one, I think he was...
You mean a bust?
Well, sorry, bubble. I meant to say bubble.
Oh, okay.
He was originally skeptical of there being a bubble on account of the fact that I think he underestimated the number of people that were going into the stock market for the first time, specifically using their stimulus checks. Or for whom trading in the stock market using their stimulus check was in fact turning into a major source of income in light of the pandemic. But then, my my anarcho-communist millennial sister was asked a question at a family dinner, and it turns out that suspiciously large numbers of her friends are moving into the stock market recently, so...
A thing which she despairs about, or is annoyed about, or
oh, no,
jumping on it?
She's completely neutral to it.
Oh, okay.
I would say that my sister is only really an anarcho-communist on paper.
I was going to say, because if you have an anarcho-communist sister whom, when asked about the stock market and the current trend towards trading with stimulus check, answers with an enthusiastic, "Oh yes, I'm doing that," that's when you know that perhaps you've got a problem.
Yeah, that'll be the definite and unambiguous danger sign.
Yes.
If my anarcho-communist sister says, "Oh yeah, I set myself up with $1,000 worth of the Becky portfolio and made a huge amount of money," that'll be the danger sign.
Yeah. The general feeling in the wind that I'm guessing is that there's just a lot of people who are doing a thing that they've never done before. Many of them because they've just never been old enough to do it. But many of them because they've just never done it before. It's a trend. Like I said, it's a trend. And the thing I think we've had this discussion before, where I've mentioned that the thing about trends is that there is a tendency on social media for people whose income is reliant on coming up with the most outrageous thing to talk about in order to get likes and clicks and shares and follows. There is a tendency among these people to attempt to anticipate the next trend. And when you're in the middle of a boom, the next trend is, well, what if there's a bust?
Yeah. So, my dad actually thinks it's going to get crazier before we actually see the bust. Things might seem crazy now, and I've seen a couple of bearish theses dating back to December. I sent you links to those that looked at things like the Buffett indicator and how the price to earnings ratio of the entire S&P 500 has been behaving recently. And guess what? Both of those things are at either historic highs or are higher than they have been since the dot-com bubble.
Yeah.
So, there's that, and at this point, the only thing I'm concerned about, well, not the only thing I'm concerned about with regards to my position in GameStop, but I am concerned about the possibility of being able to get out of it before things go pear-shaped for the entire market. I don't know how long that's supposed to take.
Well, how long is it going to take to get out of it? You mean like there to be a...
Well, I also don't know how long it's going to take for anything interesting to happen with GameStop.
Oh, well, assume nothing. I mean, just, yeah. You like the stock.
I like the stock, but I would also like for the stock to do something interesting.
Well, in the classic words of Buffett, it's like actually I don't have any Buffett quotes lined up, so I'm not going to try and pretend I do. But
yeah, and I've been so
you've only holding it for a few weeks, mate.
Well, my previous forays into investing weren't this exciting.
What were your previous forays into investing? I don't think you ever told me.
I lost a ton of money on oil. Yeah. I was a bag holder in oil stocks when the 2020 crash occurred.
I see. This was when oil went negative, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's like, that would have been an opportunity. Like,
you remember us talking about that and me giving a nervous chuckle the last time you mentioned that?
Oh, I didn't think that ever registered with me, but now I've got more context. Yeah, I could certainly see how that would be. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, that time oil went negative. Oh, incidentally, I have made an interesting discovery with regards to the algorithm.
Which algorithm?
YouTube's algorithm.
Oh yes, go ahead. Tell me what is this discovery?
You see, James,
Yeah.
YouTube's
Oh, God.
algorithm has decided that it is going to start trying to emulate TikTok.
Okay. So, go on.
So here's the thing. YouTube's algorithm now factors in something that they're calling shorts. Basically, a short is any video under a minute long. You can tag it with the tag short or shorts, and it will then be put onto something called the short shelf. I haven't looked into this too much. I just saw a Spiffing Brit video about it in which he tried to break the YouTube algorithm and apparently was horrifyingly successful at it.
This explains why some of the YouTube followers that I've been following have been producing less than 1 minute long videos in the last week or two.
Yes. So that's happened. The video that the Spiffing Brit put out actually only came out yesterday, though. So basically, they're looking to get people to produce short viral content that can be produced as part of a dopamine trap. And I, for one, am entirely in favor of this procedure, because shorts actually make your channel far more visible.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
And it's less work to produce a 60-second long video.
Yes! Anyhow, this world has been going for an entire hour, so I'm going to say that it's off. But let me show you.
Also, Ulan, I can say that even if we did feel qualified, cannot legally give advice. We can give education, if we were in fact qualified to give education. And I can also say that I have absolutely no handle on it at all.
Yeah. All right.
I can tell you what's probably a bad idea. I can't tell you what's a good idea.
Yes.
I took economics in university.
So, welcome to the glorious Hyperborean mining office on the scuffed survival multiplayer server. We've got our mine, we've got our helpful employees, and we've got a box full of pumpkins around here somewhere. So, let me give you the rest of the tour. We've got water elevators that take us up and down. We've got a place where I'm going to be building a bridge this afternoon, I think, because this dirt mess is terrifying.
Oh, look, it's Texas.
Hmm?
Okay, bad. Yeah. It's Texas.
Oh, yeah, it's Texas.
Yeah.
So, I built this house, and my cohort T-Mech was busy building farms. So, let me just give you the good view. Boom.
That is a very nice view.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Also, you appear to have a fire going, which I didn't know you could do.
Yeah, it's a little tricky, but basically what it boils down to is that, in one of the more recent updates, they added these campfire things, which burn and give off smoke indefinitely. So I put in this fume hood, which you'll notice is actually solid blocks there, and at every one of the subsequent stories, I've just said, okay, the fume hood has another entry so that it all just goes on up, all the way up to the attic.
I see.
And, yeah, I finished building this in, last Saturday's stream, and then started filling it with things like this storage center. So that's all well and good. Meanwhile, T-Mac's been doing all the useful stuff over here. He started off with the pumpkin and melon farm over there. This potato farm is actually meant to be manned by a villager. So at least in theory, this is a fully automated potato farm. Unfortunately, it has not been a very successful fully automatic potato farm. It looks like we've got a bit of a villager deficit, and I wonder what T-Mech has been up to here. But basically, this was the beginnings of an iron farm. It's an iron farm, but at the bottom here, we have what T-Mech was pleased to call the child extractor. Child villagers would end up down here and could grow up to be whatever profession we wanted them to be.
Wow. You're going full 40k on this.
Yep. I like to say that Tavi the Terrible is my lawful evil work Sona. I don't really know how this farm is supposed to work. It appeared to still be a work in progress as of the last time that T-Mech told me what he was doing with it. And it looks like this farm is not working. Something peculiar has happened. And I, for one, would like to know what it is and why. Whoops.
Sue says chest cars are not moving.
Yes. There we go. Push!
There we go. Ooh.
Okay, let's see here. And there isn't a cart on this last one, but alright.
Maybe stopped moving after chunk got unloaded.
A distinct possibility. But now they're all moving again. So hopefully we'll see some... That one should have tripped it. Oh, this one doesn't have a piston over it yet.
Unload and reload as a test.
Might be worth trying, but for the moment I'll just be happy to have the pumpkins. We also finally got Netherwart going, so that's good.
That's a really nice house. How long did it take you to make that?
Jeez. I was working on it almost since the first stream. It took me one whole stream to get the, stone portions of the base done, and then another one to get the ground level, or the base level portions of the wooden part done, and then probably 2 entire streams to get the top portion done, so that's 4 streams in total. Call it 8 hours. Hife! The water elevators are very useful.
Yeah.
Hey guy, how's it going?
I love it how they're just trapped there.
Oh no, they're not trapped there, James. They're our loyal employees. They want to be here. It's far better than that benighted savage lifestyle they were leading before we brought the glorious Hyperborean Mining Company here. Why, their kids are receiving useful education and gainful employment.
In the company's, to the company.
Of course. Who else is going to employ them around here?
Colonialism. You gotta love it.
That is what we were going for, yes.
Yeah.
So that's the basics of what goes on around here. Honestly, moment of self-criticism, I'm a little disappointed that the interior texturing here is mostly comprised of multi-toned wood. I think I could have done something better with the walls.
Why don't you try starting to? Why don't you start trying to make some carpeting?
We don't have a sheep farm yet, so it's not really a. I built the aesthetics of this place out of what materials we had on hand, and as a consequence of that,
Looks very rustic.
yeah, as a consequence of that, it looks very rustic. I didn't go creating subsets of this installation on the basis of what would look nice after it was built. I just built out of what we had on hand. So, I still think I could have done a more aesthetically pleasing job than what I did do. But I'll just have to remember that for the next time that I go for a specifically rustic build, which, knowing my Minecraft habits, will probably just be the next time I do a major build. These are all pumpkins here, so I'm going to harvest those. Oops. I accidentally did the pumpkin. Oh yeah, and after only one session of talking to him about it, I got T-Mech to go and read Atlas Shrugged of his own volition. I hadn't given you crap for that yet.
Actually, you have given me crap for that.
Well, yeah, but not on the stream.
No, not on the stream. You haven't. No. To be fair, I have read some of Atlas Shrugged. I wouldn't go dancing a victory jig until he has actually read the whole thing through.
That's
and
fair.
then you have engaged in a hardcore philosophical discussion with him, in which he agrees full-heartedly with everything you say.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then you can dance a victory jig.
Although, in fairness, after my first time through Atlas Shrugged, I didn't agree with everything in the book wholeheartedly. It took a while. Not just... it took a while not just to agree with everything, but to understand even the things that I initially thought I agreed with. So, it's a process. We'll get there.
Oh, I actually read, or listened rather, on my audiobook version. I went through Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 of...
Objectivism, the Philosophy of Ayn Rand?
Yes. I did that.
Nice.
And I actually listened to... I not only did that, I actually listened to both chapters twice, because I needed to, make sure that I understood.
Did you say 4 and 5 or 5 and 6?
5 and 6, I think.
Okay.
I'll have to check exactly which numbers they were.
Yeah. I actually just reviewed the latter half of Chapter 5 as part of the OAC program this week. So I'm reasonably fresh on that material if you have any questions.
I think I did, but I can't remember what it was.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think I distinctly remember having an observation and thinking, yes, I'll have to bring this up with Soren the next time we talk about this subject.
Oh dear.
And I can't remember what it was now, but I've no doubt that if I listened to it again on speed, I should be able to bring it back up again rather quickly.
I think you meant at speed, or at least I hope you meant at speed, because I don't particularly fancy the idea of you blowing your brains out on speed, James.
Yeah, I did mean at speed, yes.
Okay, good. Just checking. Yeah, see, this is the colors of wool we've managed to obtain so far. White, light gray, and gray.
I should say that I'm getting a lot more value out of the non-fiction, I think, than I am out of the fiction.
Fair enough.
And I should also say, obviously, I did not finish the fiction.
Yeah.
But considering the hours that I invested into the fiction, and the vague lack of return feeling that I got from that,
Fair enough.
compared to the very definite feeling of return that I'm getting from the non-fiction, then yes, I think the fiction is quite frankly better. Although the fiction,
You didn't even get far enough into the fiction to have reached any of the major conflict points. And,
well, there you go then.
Given
that just sums it all up, doesn't it? Really?
Yeah, you were in the hey look, there's some mysterious stuff going on that the characters don't fully understand yet phase.
Yeah. As a writer, I would not dare to not introduce my main conflict until God knows how many chapters we were in and how many hours. Yeah, quite far into the book. The fact that we got past Mr. Perfect's backstory with the main female character, the fact that we got that far and they still hadn't got to the conflict of the actual story yet, apparently, according to you.
Okay, well,
yeah,
they did get to the conflict of the story in the sense that the overarching conflict factored into what happened with Mr. Perfect's backstory, as you put it. The character he's referring to, incidentally, is named Francisco
D'Anconia.
Yeah, there you go.
I now remember, yes. Francisco D'Anconia. Yeah. That guy. And yes, I also, because I do actually know vaguely the plot, and because you have summarized it for me, and I understand how the foreshadowing was happening, but that doesn't change the fact that I would not dare to write in this way.
Fair enough. Although,
yeah,
T-Mech gave me his blow-by-blow impressions of the first chapter, and geez, he might watch this. What can I say about it? I think it might be that because he is not a writer and was not getting distracted by writing elements of it, he cottoned on to what was going on with the story more easily than you did.
I think that's unfair. I think I cottoned on to what was going on in the story.
It's just you were being distracted by the technical aspects of the writing rather than actually having an immersive experience in reading it.
Well, that is 100% fair, and this is something that I have not only with Ayn Rand. I find myself trying to read many books right now. I actually got a subscription to Kindle Unlimited specifically because I was getting sick of paying for my books, and I just wanted to.
Yes.
I wanted to read stuff, pick it up and read it. And then
technical analysis of the first chapter of Tamer, King of Dinosaurs will stick with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, my point is that right now when I read a book that I'm borrowing from Amazon, I inevitably find myself editing the book in my head as I'm reading it, which is incredibly frustrating. And it certainly does not in any way allow for immersive reading. I find it very difficult to get myself lost in a book. Strangely enough, I don't seem to have that problem with fan fiction. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe it's because I'm already immersed in fan fiction because I know the world.
Well, I'd say you've got a pretty good handle on this world that I've built with T-Mech, so I don't think there's too much more I need to do in anticipation of my stream with him this afternoon.
Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? I can harvest and replant the nether wart. We haven't actually done that at this point yet. I mean, we're also not brewing a whole lot of potions, but, you know, still.
Mm-hmm. You know, I think it would be really cool to have an automated garden. I know I've said this to you before, but I think that would be... That's
said this
really
to me
cool.
before. You were mentioning it and posting pictures of people's projects in that field earlier today, James.
Yeah, well, I'm giving context for people who are listening so that I don't just start randomly talking about something and they've got no idea what I'm talking about. But watching you do this on Minecraft is making me think this even more, is my point.
Yeah, well, that garden's not automated.
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't know if there is a way to automate nether wart. That's something I was going to do. Spruce fences? We don't have any other spruce blocks. And I think it is more than just... two of them. And I'm going to need glass panes. Mist building. There we go. Yeah, alright. We'll knock down some spruce trees. We'll knock down a spruce tree to get the blocks I need for that. And then we'll sign off the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we need 2 more. Dark oak, birch, spruce! There we go. All good. The house is now officially finished. And, to the viewers who have been nice enough to stick around this time, we'll, see you in the next one.
Yep, see you in the next one.